Born in 1946, the Strategic Air Command was formed to give the nation the capability of delivering nuclear weapons around the world. The B-36 bomber, built in Fort Worth by General Dynamics, was SAC's first intercontinental bomber, but the Air Force rushed to build a faster, higher-flying airplane.
Coming up on 16.0 now.
10 years later came Boeing's B-52. Its 8 jet engines take it to altitudes above 50,000 feet. Its bomb bay has room to carry 80 500-pound bombs. Air-to-air refueling makes its range unlimited. For the past 20 years, SAC has kept the B-52 on constant alert. 35% of all the money spent on strategic forces is spent on these bombers. Today's fleet numbers over 400. The men who fly for SAC are still considered the best trained in the world, but their technology is years ahead of their airplane.
We're on a B-52D model, built in 1956. This is SAC's oldest flying bomber. The Air Force is spending about $240 million modernizing and repairing these planes, hoping to get another 10 years service out of them. But not everybody agrees with doing that.
This low-level refueling and bomb practice mission over Utah is one of the ways the B-52's capabilities are tested. The crew is from the 20th Bomb Squadron at Carswell Air Force Base. The aircraft commander is Captain Jim Yule.
I think that today it can get the job done. In 5 years it probably can. 10, 15 years maybe. There might be some question. I think we definitely need a new airplane.
The supersonic B-1 bomber is what SAC would like to consider its new airplane. Built by North American Rockwell, its projected cost is now up to $80 million per plane. The cost-effectiveness of the B-1 test program continues to produce hot arguments in Congress, some arguing the B-1 isn't worth all that money now because foreign policy doesn't make it an urgent defense item. Others say the B-52 remains effective and can be adapted to carry more modern weapons.
I don't look for a diminished role in SAC. I look for an enhanced role. And the enhanced role could take the form of a mobile missile system. It could include in its weapon systems this standoff cruise missile that I talked to you about, the Alcom, which would be on the B-52 and would aid in the penetration of the B-1 bombers.
Regardless of what Congress decides, it appears this nation will always depend on some type of manned bomber for survivability. Total reliance on missiles could be dangerous.
And if we go with the B-1's got the man in it, and I think that's critical. The man is the best individual that can make a decision at that point. A computer is just programmed.
How SAC's equipment and role changes over the next 30 years will determine if it remains the world's strongest psychological deterrent. Bob Serkin, Channel 8 News, Carswell Air Force Base.
Their Carswell-based B-52 lost hydraulic pressure shortly after takeoff from Fort Worth, May 19th, on a training flight. The hydraulic failure occurred as the right front landing gear was being retracted, freezing the gear in a half-up, half-down position. The other 3 gears remained locked down, but the hydraulic system's failure also cost the pilot use of his brakes, steering, and rudder. Strategic Air Command officials in Nebraska ordered the plane diverted to Edwards Air Force Base in California, where crew members would attempt an emergency landing on Edwards' 5-mile-long salt bed runway. The pilots brought the plane in safely, with the inoperative right front gear bouncing up and down on impact. With no brakes or steering, the 200-ton bomber took about 2.5 miles to roll to a stop. But crew members were able to keep control of the bomber, preventing its tipping over or ground looping, and avoided injury to themselves or serious damage to the aircraft. Today, in ceremonies at Carswell, the crew of the 52 was presented commendation medals by Lieutenant General Richard Hoban, commander of the 8th Air Force. The aircraft commander, Captain James Yule, and his co-pilot, Captain John Hemmer, received the Air Medal, and the rest of the crew were presented the Air Force's Commendation Medal. After the award ceremony, Captain Yule talked about the incident.
They directed us to go to Edwards because of the dry lake bed out there, which gave us 5.5 miles of runway. We then shot some practice approaches to get the feel of the landing and everything. We didn't actually touch down on the practice approaches, but we did get right down into right close to the lake bed. Then the last one, we just came down. The chase airplane was right next to us. They talked us down, and it was a very smooth touchdown, and then we just rolled 2.5 miles to stop. We had a couple problems. One was braking, and we didn't know how long it was going to stop. We have the big drag chute. I don't know if anyone's been out to Carswell to see it. If that had malfunctioned, it probably would have taken better than 3 to 4 miles to stop. That's the big reason why we had to go to Edwards, because that's the only place in the United States Air Force that has that long area to land in. The other would have been a possible ground loop that was very small, and a possibility of a gear collapse, which is very small also. The biggest problem was stopping. We talked about everything that could possibly happen. We planned for the absolute worst, but we reviewed everything, and there was no excitement or panic or anything like that. It was very, very calm.
Other crew members honored today were Captain David Moser, radar navigator, Captain Charles Sober, instructor radar navigator, Master Sergeant Paul Kiviaho, gunner, Major Thurman Chambly, Jr., instructor pilot, Captain William Richards III, the electronics warfare officer, and Captain Robert Hintz, the navigator.